Right, Tash Lagbani here. Three tested strategies you need to evaluate your web marketing success. This is a subject that I have discussed several times with many of my web marketing clients, and it's always at a point where I feel we've done so much work, and they need to understand what they need to be looking at to know whether or not the results are there in actuality, or whether they still need to wait longer, or how to measure the results they are getting to know whether or not it's been worth their while, the investment they made in time, effort, money, of course. And so quite often I find I need to do this every once in a while. And depending on the client's, the nature of the client's business, the areas I will highlight will differ. But what I'm about to discuss in this podcast are actually three kind of generic um, ideas that you can use to evaluate the effectiveness of a web marketing system in any area of business. All right. So I said, I think the subtitle here. The subtitle is Practical Ideas for Measuring Your Web Marketing System's Effectiveness. All right. So how do you know you're succeeding? You're doing web marketing, whatever it is, the strategy you're using. How will you measure the results you're getting, and use that to determine whether or not what you're doing is working, or whether or not you should change it to do something else. All right. So I'm just going to take you through the points I usually share with my clients, and I've actually turned it into a PDF report. So if you want the PDF report, just send me your WhatsApp number, your name, via email to WMSROI, Web Marketing System Return on Investment, WMSROI at TKSOLA.com. All right, and I'll send you the PDF. It's just about 5 pages or so, but it contains everything I'm going to talk about now. So you might want to get that even if you listen to this podcast, which I'll post, of course, on my channel as a video format. All right, so what I've done, or what I do for clients in form of this web marketing system development and implementation, is something that I've been doing for myself for more than 15 years. And when I was doing it in the initial stages, I was really testing and experimenting. So what you're about to hear from me are things that work today, no matter what brand you're working with, but that I've actually become sure about because I've used myself as a kind of an experimental guinea pig to test it in a real life situation where I really needed to make money because I had no money and I had family to support. So what you're about to hear are techniques and strategies, ideas that I've used to create a system that enables me to generate a reliable inflow of inquiries for what I sell, both products and services. All right. So many of these internet marketing experts in Nigeria and elsewhere, they just sometimes talk about all these technicalities. You hear about meta tags, all these tags. And I always say it. How many times have you seen the person who went viral on the internet saying that they did any writing of code, tags, web? Just create something that's of interest to people, let the people that will be interested in that thing the most discover that thing exists. You get your traffic, you get the attention you need, and people will contact you. It's as simple as that. It's not, you don't academize everything, but that's what happens sometimes. So I learned the hard way because I tried to listen to those people and I found out, yes, they have a point. Yes, there's some aspects where you do some SEO optimization and all that, but there's only so much you can do before the quality of your information that you're offering determines how well you succeed. All right. So people waste their time a lot on mechanical stuff, doing a lot of programming. You can't game Google. Google wants to know what people love, and Google will not follow code alone. Google will look at what is the behavior of people that are on the web that are going to different destinations, and it is the direction in which people are going on the web by way of destination that will make Google determine which website or which web platform is more authentic in terms of content delivery and is satisfying people when they eventually encounter it. So there's a lot of psychology that influences what people do on the web, and so people are not robots. Like I said, you cannot program them, you cannot use code to replace the behavior of people or to mimic the behavior of people in a manner that will trick the search engines as well. Right? So people are not robots, they are not software, and there's only so much you can do to control the actions. That's just truth. But what you can do is to use your programming to present to people who are thinking, right, information that will convince them that they need to click and come and do the things that you want them to do on your website, on your Facebook page, wherever it is you are operating from, but preferably from your website, so you can control most of it. So how do you know if your web marketing system is working? You have been doing all this too. I don't know who's doing it for you. It could be me, it could be somebody else. But what these things they are doing for you, getting you to do, getting you to pay for, how do you know if all of these things are working? Your money is not just being thrown down the drain. Okay, here are some of the ideas you can use, including I'll mention a few performance measures as we continue. So they will actually be KPIs you can measure, key performance indicators, ratios that you can calculate. All right. So the first one is the first way you can use to measure the effectiveness of your web marketing system is to monitor your web conversion ratio. Right. So you want to measure the rate at which people subscribe, for instance, to your mailing list. So and this is not something that will happen overnight. How many people are subscribing to your mailing list? You may find that for months a single soul may not subscribe, even for over a year. It just depends on what you are selling and how you are going about it, and the audience you are trying to attract as well. So many factors. But the thing is, if you do it right and you continue to improve the quality of content you're offering, and you intelligently engage technology, the search engines and all of that, all of it combined, if you do it right, will eventually lead to people beginning to subscribe to your mailing list. It's just guaranteed. And especially when you make sure that your content is engaging and compelling, and you've got to constantly create new content. It's not negotiable. If you can't do it, hire somebody to do it for you, and you must be prepared to pay the money for the person to do a good quality job for you. That's the key. If you don't do that, forget it. You can't succeed in web marketing the way I propose. All right. So this is not something that will happen overnight, but web conversion ratio is one of the indicators you can use. Right. You will see people subscribing to your newsletter, submitting your website contact form to make inquiries. These can be computed into an index called the website conversion ratio. Right? And that's one of several reliable performance metrics used by serious-minded business owners. These are things you can calculate yourself when you just have the basic figures, your website conversion ratio. Now it's computed by dividing the total number of visitors to your website by the number of those visitors who eventually take action to make contact with you. So if people are visiting your website, you've got to be able to assess and estimate what number of people have come to your website. And you want to use the right channels. I will always encourage that people use the Google tools. The webmaster tools provided by Google are the most reliable, because the Google is a primary resource that most people use to evaluate the performance of their website on the web, visibility and all of that. So you better go with what Google says is the traffic you are getting. So whatever numbers you get from Google, use them for your calculation. Now, you calculate your website conversion ratio, as I said, by dividing the total number of visitors to your website by the number of those visitors who eventually take action to contact you. Because the conversion we're talking about here is the most basic level. You need to know whether human beings are even going there at all. So that you have this thing, you're putting up all this stuff on the web. You're not hearing back, nothing. How will you know people are going there? This is what I'm saying. You need to check for the visitors to your website and then do this calculation. How many people are contacting you? If nobody's contacting you, that means it's zero. Then you need to know, okay, what can I do differently? You keep varying what you're doing with your content and the promotion of your content until you see a change. That's it. And you can't give up. All right, now you can do this in various ways. People can contact you in various ways, make contact with you that way. By way of conversion, they can fill in the form on your website, they can send an email directly to you at your email address, they can call your phone number or your WhatsApp, chat with you on WhatsApp. These are things that have happened to me. As recently as just last week, somebody just popped up in my WhatsApp and next thing I knew, 12 hours later, I paid money to my account. So you can send you a DM via Facebook. I've done that. I've had that done to me on WhatsApp, Facebook, Twitter. These are things that happen all the time with me. So I'm talking from experience. Take it or leave it. You can even have people post comments on your blog, post comments on your Facebook post, basically any area where people can communicate to you. Once they come to you, you will need to ask them, by the way, be smart. Don't just tell them, take the order, let the person pay and go. You ask them, how did you find us about it? It's so important. That lets you know what part of the web marketing system you're running is generating that kind of response. Because like I tell people all the time, what you should create is called response generating content. So when the person comes to you, you want to ask, how did you find out about me? Where exactly did you see my stuff? How did you pick up this phone number, this email address, this link to the website contact form? That way you know where exactly the engagement is coming from, and then you can do more of whatever it is you put there. If you don't do that, you'll be walking blind. Keep that in mind. Okay. Now, I'm talking from over 15 years of hard-won experience. I've gone through hell and back to be able to tell you the things I'm telling you now. And I'm telling you, that is how you get results. Okay. Now, typically your website conversion ratio can be around, on the average for the industry, is about 3%, which means that for every 100 people who visit your website, you can only expect about 3 of them to eventually contact you. Not to do business with you, just to contact you. Whether or not they do business with you will not depend on your ability to close the sale when they contact you. This is very important for you to understand, because some people just assume that, oh, so the inquiry has come, that means I'm going to do business with you. No, it doesn't follow. They may just contact you and we talk to you and they tell you I'll get back to you later, and they don't get back to you at all. So the website conversion ratio will vary from one industry to the other, of course, but you will have to find out what yours is, and that's only by trial and error. By the time you do it for a while, you get an idea of what works for you. What is the conversion ratio you have? All right, at that basic level. Okay, so this is very important. Now, this is why you must have, for your web conversion ratio, for website conversion to happen, all right, you need to use a good marketing strategy that ensures that only the right visitors, that is the ones who fit the profile of your target audience, visit your website. The right visitors will constitute your, what we call a pre-qualified target audience, okay, or pre-qualified prospects. Okay, people who already are interested in what your website offers or what your brand offers. So those are the kind of people you want to make contact with you. Why? Because those are the kind of people that are likely to want to buy. Why would you want somebody selling akara to come to your website and be making inquiries from you about chin-chin, when clearly the person is saying that I'm into akara business and I want to know how you can help me? Well, you may be able to find a way to try and twist the whole narrative discussion to serve yourself, where you get the person to buy chin-chin from you. But the truth of the matter is that akara is what the person was trying to make inquiry about. So maybe you want to just send the person to somebody else and say, okay, talk to my friend, she's into akara business. But then it's a bad sign, because if your web marketing system is bringing people to you, they're asking you for information about how to reach somebody else, and that's happening often. Check what you're putting out there. That's kind of thing I need to do. All right. So another way of looking at the website conversion ratio, okay, is by seen as a measure of what we call the return on investment in a business website. Okay, so a website, for instance, that features a product that makes people that are bald grow hair, right? That makes their hair grow. Somebody with a bald head, the hair grows because of your product. If that's the website you have on your product, if that's the product you have on your website, that process, the process that involved in developing web marketing strategy, help you create marketing messages that make those who need your product or service recognize the unique benefit, all right, that your website offers. So the person that has a website that features a product that makes hair grow on bald heads, that website will not be of interest to somebody that has hair on his head. If somebody is not struggling with baldness, why would you want to visit a website where you learn how to grow hair? Except maybe he has a relative that he wants to help to solve the problem of getting bald. But how many people are going to be going around looking for that? Not many. But there are a lot of people. How many of them will be motivated? Because you have what is called a motivated buyer, a person who is driven by the need he or she is feeling to look for a solution. But this person is just maybe on behalf of somebody, or just to help my uncle, my father, my friend. It's not the same motivation. It can happen, but then there won't be many of them like that. So your website wants to target people that are pre-qualified prospects, people that they need this thing, and that's why they're looking for it. Of course, they might also need it for a loved one, which also happens. All right. So the process that's involved in developing a web marketing strategy will help you craft web marketing messages that make those who need your product or service recognize the unique benefit your website offers, and then to visit as a result. Now, there are two levels of website conversion, and I hinted at that before. There's one level of conversion where the person just calls to make inquiry. That's what I said. The first thing that happens. That's the first one. Then the second one is the one with the person contacts you and then goes on to make a purchase, where you close the sale. So that's why I said the first thing is for the prospect to contact you at all. That's the first level of conversion. You need that to happen, because that will enable you to, your sales funnel will be full all the time. You'll be coming in, and then you'll be generating a mailing list, which will allow you to continue to market to those people that have contacted you until they buy, make a sale, make a purchase. So it's important that should happen first. All right. So you need to, another way to evaluate the effectiveness of your web marketing is for you to monitor your savings. Are you saving anything? Are you saving time? Are you saving effort? Are you saving money? All right, that you are normally supposed to, that normally you'll be spending on marketing your brand. Are you achieving savings in those areas? So the money you used to spend before to market your brand, today, having commenced the implementation of this web marketing strategy or system you are using, are you making any savings in that? Are you spending less, or are you still spending the same amount, or indeed are you spending more? And I'm not talking in the short term, because in the short term you may be paying a consultant or an employee to do some things for you in regard to the web marketing that you are doing. So you will be thinking, oh, so right now I'm spending a lot of money. But the thing is, you have to look at it over the long term. In the long term, maybe 3 months down the line, 6 months down the line, 1 year down the line, maybe you might want to look at a kind of half-year review and annual end-of-year review. Have you saved money in total? Have you saved time in total? Expenses and other materials, resources. Have you used less resources? Maybe less flyers, things like that. Maybe you have a batch of flyers you printed, and your budget is maybe to use maybe 10,000 every month, and so you find yourself using only 5,000 already. You're getting so many inquiries, that kind of thing. So you find out, wow, you're getting some results. That's the kind of thing we're talking about. All right, so basically, if you are able to make savings on the expense, you're spending less in your marketing as a result of this new marketing method you are using. Okay, that means there's an impact on what is called your cost of customer acquisition. I mentioned to you, you have some KPIs, some measurable performance indices. We've talked about the website conversion ratio. Now we're talking about the COCA, right? COCA is the cost of customer acquisition, right? Or cost of sales, right? So if that value, if the cost of customer acquisition drops, if you know what it used to be before, you do a calculation, you have your expense, you have your records, and then you now look at what you're spending now, look at the cost of customer acquisition, and it has dropped, right? Okay, while you've gotten either the same level of marketing expansion, marketing exposure, or even more marketing exposure and probably more inquiries, then you say, okay, I'm doing well. If it's the other way around, you know you're not doing well, and you need to ask questions. Maybe look at what you're doing and see where you can tweak what you're doing to make to get better results. All right. So the web marketing system will be helping you focus on doing what matters most, using what is called the Pareto principle. That's where I designed my web marketing system. The 80-20 rule. Okay. You can Google Pareto rule. I don't want to go into that. So you're going to save time, effort, and money. Okay. In terms of how you do your marketing, there will be some things you used to do before to market your brand, which my web marketing system that I ask you to implement, and that I'm working with you to implement, will tell you do not need to do anymore. There will be some of them will be telling you, don't work like this anymore, don't respond to people like this, don't do this until people come to you at this level. For instance, I tell people all the time, you have to put hurdles in place. Don't just let everybody have easy access to you to talk to you. Some of them want to pick your brains, then they want to waste your time. They're just curious. They're called time wasters. So don't let them come to you putting hurdles. If they jump through those hurdles, then you can engage them at a level where you know that, okay, this is not likely to be a waste of my time. If you don't do that, so those are the ways you are going to evaluate the effectiveness of the web marketing system. Is it making it easier for you to sell? Are you spending less time working leads? For instance, before now, maybe you had to chase somebody around for 6 months before the person will eventually send money. But now you have a system in place that just send the person a link and said, follow the instructions on that page, and the person then comes back to you ready to pay. That is evident that your web marketing system is working, because it has set up a system for you that enables you to sell with less effort in less time and using less resources. That's evidence of the fact that it's working for you. Okay, so it's not sometimes directly into cash. So there are some indirect benefits that are significant and that make an impact on your ability to be productive. You must measure that as well and take note of them. All right. So there will be some things you used to do that you will eventually realize you no longer need to do, but that you can do more effectively and efficiently in terms of cost, time, and effort you have to expend. So this means you'll be able to use what you have to get more done, and by doing so, you reap improved profits. Okay. Now, so for instance, when you're taking, I think I've talked about that. You're taking questions from prospects to speak with you. Those are typically what you put on that FAQ list and put it on a website. In fact, you could do a video answering FAQs. Anybody that asks you that question, sorry, hold on a minute, send me your WhatsApp phone number or say hi to me on WhatsApp. I'll send you a link, watch the video. When you're done, get back to me. You make good use of your time. It makes you more productive, and it also helps you to look more professional. That commands respect from the potential client. They'll think like this person doesn't have time to waste. So that will inspire more confidence, and it will kind of, the people are very attracted to that. The fact that you seem not to be so willing to run after them. But when you're chasing them, you give off wrong energy and then you lose. Right? So your web marketing system will serve potential buyers with virtually all the routine generic information they need to arrive at up to 70 to 80% certainty that you can help them with the solution they offer. In that mental state, they will no longer simply be curious. That's why I told you that some people will be curious. You don't want curious people to come to you. Let your web marketing system deal with curious people. When they come to you, they must come with conviction. That way you can close the sale. That's the goal. So, and in most cases, those people will contact you because they are eager, they are driven, they are motivated buyers by that time. By the time they go through your web marketing system, they are coming to you with conviction and they want to buy. They already know they can trust you. They already know that what you can do for them will help them. So they are ready to buy. Just for you to answer a few more questions and you're good to go. That is typically the way the thing works. Now, like I said, it doesn't happen overnight. You will have to wait and work hard with patience and with persistence. But when it begins to work, you'll be shocked. That's the truth. Now, when you have things like that in place that help you to save time, effort, and resources in responding to inquiries and in dealing with people that are potential clients, all right, you'll be able to do your marketing with confidence and with peace of mind, because you don't have to worry anymore about whether or not you left anything out that would have helped you to convince that person to buy. Have you ever thought about that? Where you have somebody that comes, has a conversation with you maybe for 3-4 days, asking you all kinds of questions, send this, you do everything, and the person still does not buy. Then start asking yourself, what else could I have done? You need a system that helps you to have in place everything you need to do to convince a serious buyer to buy. The minute you expose that person to the system, if the person is a serious buyer, they will see that, wow, this person has answered all my questions, and just go ahead and send money. Once that person does not send money, you will not have any reason to worry. When you're using my web marketing system, the way I designed it, you will not even be bothered. You won't be thinking about the person. What you just do is you know the next thing you need to send to the person to try and push him or her to buy it. But that will not work 100% of the time. Maybe it will work like 70% of the time, 80% of the time. It won't work 100% of the time. Because some people, sometimes their circumstances change. Maybe their finances will get a hit. Somebody fell sick, and so the money they were planning to spend will not be there anymore. So they may not be able to pay, even though they were very motivated buyers and probably will come back later. So you need to understand that sometimes you'll be sending those things after the person has made inquiry, not pay, and the person might still not respond. It doesn't mean it doesn't work. It just means you have to persist, but you have to do it intelligently. Don't overburden the person with continuous bombardment of messages. Just do it once in a while. You know the things that are in your web marketing system that can push the person closer to buying. You begin to send those things over time, and eventually a sale can happen. All right. So when you're using a web marketing system of the kind I develop for clients, you will always be confident that most of those who work with were not serious buyers in the first place, and therefore you feel okay letting such people go away. You won't be worried that let me chase them. You won't have to do that. No. So a web marketing system, if you have it and it's working, you will never find yourself chasing clients. Very rarely. Sometimes you may need to try and convince a client because you are thinking the clients have not seen the big picture, yes, but it won't be often. Right? Now, having said all that, the web marketing system, by making them contact you, will still avoid an opportunity to continue sending them marketing messages, as I said before, through periodic, you can be sending emails, because the person would have subscribed. Remember, once the person makes contact with you, you've gotten two things using the kind of system I developed. You've gotten a phone number, you've gotten an email address. Once you have those two things, you can stay in touch through those two channels, and that's very, very significant, because if you are able to stay in touch through those two channels, there's still opportunity to make a sale. It's just a matter of time. So you will be able to continue sending them marketing messages using those channels, because they are already on your mailing list. Now, the correct use of a web marketing system, you need to take note of this, actually completely eliminates the need for you to chase anybody. I've said that before. So don't forget that. You don't chase, because when you chase, you give off wrong energy. This is important. Now, the third way you can use to evaluate the effectiveness of your web marketing system is to monitor your search engine visibility. Now, this has to do with how you look online, especially when people encounter you through natural searches they conduct, not the one where they already know you and they went and searched with your name, for instance. No, they didn't know you at all, and they discovered you because they were on Google and they saw the first result of the search engine, first page of the search engine results. So the more you show up in the SERPs, which are search engine results pages, especially when you dominate the first page entries for keywords relevant to the solutions you offer, the better your web marketing system is doing. So for instance, there are some keywords I would use in the search engines that will usually bring up my products. Like I would say, formulating livestock rationing using Microsoft Excel used to bring up quite often some of my products, either the videos or a link to one of the articles and all that. Several clients have told me that they were doing searches on the web. My video came up, article came up, so many things like that. Sometimes the Facebook page I did with a link to my website, and it will come up, and then from there they will come and find me. The guy that made a purchase from me last week is a pig farmer. He said he just did a search and he found he found an article, read it, found a video, watched it, then he began to look in the comments. He saw a link to my Facebook page, clicked on it, then he saw that there was a link to click and contact me on WhatsApp, and he did that. I didn't know that was possible because I didn't give out my WhatsApp number. I didn't realize the thing had been picked automatically. So the point I'm making is people find it through different channels, because if you do your web marketing properly, you will be visible, right? And if you do it consistently, because not when you do it and you then stop, you've got to saturate the search engines, right, with your content, and your content must be good quality very often if you want to get this kind of attention from the search engine robots. All right. So one good way to check for your visibility is begin to Google your name and keywords relating to what you do. All right, and see what you get in terms of the results that come out on a regular basis. So start from day one of using your web marketing system. Begin to do Google searches using the keywords for what you sell or what you do, your brand name and things like that, your trademark. Begin to do searches and checks for all those things. What are the things that people also use to find, search for you or ask about you? Use all those keywords and strings and all that, and of course including your own name, because when people sometimes meet you, maybe you go for a conference, somebody meets you, you give them your card, the first thing most people do is they throw your name into Google and see what comes up. So you want to control what people see when they do that, and that's why a good web marketing system is required, because the good web marketing system will ensure that first page of Google, when the results come out, when your name is typed, everything there is controlled by you, no third-party content. You are going to be in control of what they are seeing there, because you would have saturated the internet with so much information about yourself that robots have indexed that by the time they just do a Google search with your name, those are the first things that people go. They will have to go to the second page to see what other people have written about you. Primarily, you will control the narrative on the first page. So let me end by saying that, of course, this will over time will happen. It's not going to be overnight that kind of domination of this first page of search engine results will happen for you. Right now, let me end by stating here that I never aim to achieve 100% in my use of my web marketing. It's not possible actually to do that. So it makes no practical sense to do that. And those who get things done don't aim to achieve 100% success. It doesn't, or perfection. It doesn't work that way. Life is not like that. So basically, I use the Pareto principle, the 80-20 principle. So I aim for 80% success, and I look at how I can use 20% of the activities I engage in to achieve that 80% success rate. So I look at the most important activities I can engage in to give me 80% of the results I need, and I'm hopeful. That enables you to focus. It enables you not to, you don't end up burning out. All right. So the Pareto principle says 80% of the desirable results you get will be due to 20% of the stuff you do. Therefore, if you can identify those 20% that you do, okay, you will be well on your way to achieving or scoring 80% of the results you want on a regular basis for the long term. So in other words, you'll be sure of recording predictable success for the long term in that chosen area of endeavor. It doesn't matter what area of endeavor is. In this case, web marketing, the same thing applies. So basically, the thinking behind the conception of my web marketing system is that I use myself as a guinea pig to make it work, and today I help other people to set up the same system adapted to meet their needs based on the experiences I've achieved and were recorded. And believe me, the results are there, always there to see. It's clear. If the client is willing to cooperate with me, collaborate with me, and meet me halfway all the time, I cannot demand, for instance, that I do it for you without you making the necessary financial commitment, and even other commitments, not just financial, even give me the information I need. Some clients will pay you money and they will not do that, and it's very funny when I see that. All right, so you need to look at your visibility online and ask yourself a question. All right, you've got to be cannot come with a perfectionist mindset. Okay, you just fail. So just ask yourself a question: what are the things I can do to get myself noticed favorably in ways that are going to boost my credibility and ultimately lead to sale? Those are the 20% stuff you need to do. Right? The tasks that you have to use in implementing your web marketing system make up that 20%, and it will help you record the 80% of results you want. So use Google as your standard, by the way. Don't use any other search engine. Use Google as your standard. Don't go with any other engine, because more than 90% of people on the web say they use Google as their choice search engine for locating information on the internet. So why would you want to go elsewhere to determine what you should be doing? Use Google results to determine where you should put your energy. Now, it's in your best interest to do this because it's consistent with the Pareto principle. Google itself, as I said, over 90% of people use it. So it only makes sense for you to stay there. Alright. So you get your best results from using Google to measure your visibility. What I'm talking about, I'm saying that few people will be able to carry on doing web marketing the way I propose if they do not focus on just 20% of the 100% they can be doing. 20% that matter the most and that give you results for 80% of the success you want to achieve. So very few people can maintain that kind of focus and dedication for the long term. And when I say long term, I mean literally indefinitely, because your web marketing system continues for life. For as long as you want your brand to remain alive, for as long as you want to remain in business, you must continue doing web marketing. You cannot do web marketing and stop. Marketing is the lifeblood of any business. You must continue marketing indefinitely if you want your brand to stay alive. If not, what happens is whatever you put out there gets stale, and over time the engines will de-index you. You will no longer come up in the results. You've got to stay alive, stay visible, stay fresh, stay organic, and you get results. So your web marketing system is going to make sure you dominate for your name and the keywords relevant to the offers you are making to your target audience. If you run it with dedication and you ensure that all the time you put in qualitative content in it, you will get the results that I've described. If you have any questions, reach out to me using the contact details on the screen. I wish you well.